Greetings, Eric Bakker. Thanks for coming back. I often get asked by people who are vegan or vegetarian, is it possible to complete a Candida cleanse? Many people who eat like this are worried that they might not eradicate, bacteria or yeast or parasites adequately from their gut. But you can get a fantastic effect as a vegan, just like you can as an omnivore or a meat eater. It doesn't matter what you eat, you can get rid of Candida, providing you don't hang around the golden arches too much, if you know what I mean. Be careful if you're a vegan, because one of the big traps I find with many vegan people, because they don't eat any meat, is they get hungry a lot. Their appetite, so they want to eat quite a lot. They may not be satisfied as a meat eater, for example, especially if you're beginning out, becoming a vegan and you're not accustomed to eating this particular way. But I'm telling you now, it's very easy to be a very healthy vegan, to have a great digestive health, good skin health. It's not difficult to achieve, but you need to understand some principles. One of the most important things I want to say up front is be careful when you get energy drops, that you don't run for chocolate or sweet foods. It easily happens, and I've seen it happen many times with people. Or they lose too much weight, so they start, chomping down on a lot of the starchy kind of foods, to try and give themselves a boost. And then they can end up with bloating and gas and a lot of problems. So that's a pitfall I want you to watch out for. Not to really eat too much sweet potato or potatoes or pumpkin or foods like that. These foods can give you a boost, but they can give you a lot of problems too. So what do you eat if you're a vegan? Well, I'm glad you asked, because that's what we're going to talk about. So there are plenty of things you can eat. You probably know now all about the different legumes you can eat. There are so many legumes that are available. Sprouts are one of my favorites, but chickpeas, lentils, lots and lots of different types of legumes. In many ways you can cook these legumes. Get non-GMO tofu, which is one of my favorite foods. Also, you can get tempeh, which is just like meat. I had a beautiful lunch yesterday. It was all vegan lunch, and it just had tofu in it. It was great. It was bok choy out of the garden. It was brown rice and quinoa as a side. Why would you want to eat meat when you can have a dish like that? Very satisfying. Nuts and seeds are a good one. There are many different seeds and nuts you can eat, but don't eat too many in one sitting. You need to really chew them properly and try and get an understanding on how these foods feel in your tummy. All right. Many people overeat concentrated foods far too much. They'll eat, for example, a whole cup of hazelnuts in one sitting, or 30 or 40 Brazil nuts. So it's too much. I like to incorporate some nuts in with my cooking. If I'm making a dish, I might put cashews on there. I might roast those, or almonds. They'll get roasted, put through the food, which is quite a nice way to eat them. Sunflower seeds are good to snack on. Pumpkin seeds, chia seeds. You think about it, there are lots of different types of nuts and seeds you can eat. They're going to give you a lot of protein. Gluten-free grains, if possible. Go for the gluten-free grains. You vegans out there would know all the gluten-free grains. Millet, buckwheat, quinoa, brown rice. There are so many of them. And you can really jazz these foods up. You can put lots of different herbs and spices with them to give them a lot of zing and a lot of taste. They don't have to taste boring or bland at all. Wait till you see my lifestyle channel we're going to create, with lots of different cooking ideas for people just like you guys out there. Be careful for the first 3 to 4 weeks. In particular, I wrote about this in Candida Crusher, about the root vegetables, right? You need to be careful. I would probably tend to push you more into the green stuff rather than the root stuff initially, because if your tummy's not quite right and you have got a Candida problem or a bacterial load, when you're starting to inappropriately ferment these starchy foods, you're going to get a lot of gas, a lot of bloating. You're going to go into a tailspin. You can feel really sick. So pull these root crops out for the first, I'd say, month. And what are they? Potatoes, sweet potatoes, parsnips, pumpkins, squash, winter squash, summer squash. Be careful of these foods. They taste sweet. They make you bloat and fart. Be careful. When you do incorporate them, a good tip for you is to bake them. Baked starchy food tends to have a better effect on the gut than boiled or steamed. You try it, you'll see it'll work. So I think we talked about the legumes, we talked about the root crops, we talked about the sugar, about being careful not to run for sugar when your energy drops, because it easily happens, okay? Start looking for really dense protein forms of food that are non-animal. And what kind of foods are they? Have a think about it. Nuts and seeds fit that bill. Legumes fit that bill. You know, lentils are a really good food to eat. I often like to cook up a lentil dish with brown lentils, orange or yellow lentils, and then we'll chop up some onions and tomatoes, use different spices, and then create this lovely dish called dal, like a lentil dish, which is really nice to have as a side serve along the brown rice and quinoa, and then a nice salad. There's tons of options for you guys out there. You can be easily a vegan who has a healthy diet, try to achieve a candida-free, approach in a gut. It's easily achievable, but you just have to think carefully about the balance of ingredients in your diet, and also eating the foods that really sit right for your tummy. Foods that make you feel good. Now, people often say I don't go enough into specifics, but if you're a vegan, especially a seasoned vegan, you will know the foods that suit you well. But don't be afraid of trying to incorporate some gluten grains in there as well, to some degree. So I'll leave you with